Somebody is getting paid today. Congratulations to Courtland Sutton on his contract extension with the Denver Broncos. Orange and Blue today, Cecil Lamb, Andrew Mason. We are here to break it down, Mason.
Break down the contract that it's actually not a bad contract for the Broncos, I'd say.
It's pretty team friendly, honestly.
Yeah. And it takes care of a situation that could have been a little bit awkward if it had lingered into the season. Makes Courtland Sutton happy. I would also say the other thing, and maybe the most important thing in terms of the team overall, Cease, this probably makes Bo Nix very happy.
Yes. It was Diana Rossini that got to catch up with Bo Nix and break the news to him that his guy, Courtland Sutton, had been paid. He didn't know any of the details at the time, so he said, I don't know what I can say, but if that's true, then I'm really happy for him. Everybody's happy for Courtland Sutton. Mase, you and I knew this thing was going to get done. There's no drama over, lack of catches, team, whatever. We knew it was going to get done. It did get done. The number is surprising to me because it is so team friendly, and the guarantee especially is quite team friendly.
Yeah, what were you expecting the guarantee was going to end up being?
50. I thought it was 50. Yeah. And I thought it would be a 3-year deal, 23 a year, 50 guaranteed. It ends up being a 4-year deal with 41 guaranteed.
Yeah, so $41 million guaranteed, Cease. If we go through wide receiver contracts according to Over the Cap, that places him 11th. By the way, the $41 million guarantee, that is the same guarantee that Cleveland gave Jerry Jeudy a year ago. The Browns gave Jerry Jeudy a $41 million guarantee before the season he had last year, when, of course, he made his first Pro Bowl and had a season that finally saw him cash in on the promise, at least individually, that never fully materialized here in Denver. But yeah, that's not a top 10 guaranteed money figure in terms of wide receivers. And of course, we're looking at $92 million over 4 years if he plays out the length of the contract. So of course, that's $23 million per year on an average per year basis. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's tied for 18th in the league in APY with Calvin Ridley of the Titans.
Yeah.
And we talk about a fair deal. I think this is a fair deal that actually reflects where Courtland Sutton is in the wide receiver hierarchy of the National Football League.
Yeah, and where he's going to be over the next couple of years with this team. And I had called for it on the radio. I'll call for it here. I don't want to see anybody saying, why would they pay Court? This is a great deal.
Yeah.
It gets Court paid. It gets him guarantees. He's a veteran receiver. I don't want to hear he's not a number one. He's not Jamar Chase, okay? 99% of the receivers in this league aren't Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
But he is a number one. And 18, if you put it 15 to 18, somewhere in there, Mase, this sounds perfect for both sides.
Yeah, this is good receiver territory, but not superstar receiver territory.
Very good, yes.
And that's what Courtland Sutton is. He's a good to very good receiver, but he's not superstar. He's not elite. He's a good to very good receiver. And this is good to very good receiver money. What this also does, Cease, is I look at this receiver contract, and especially given that Bo Nix has another 3 years of team control, I look at this contract and it doesn't prevent me from deciding in another couple of off seasons, and actually the discussion could be had next off season. This doesn't prevent me from deciding to pay Marvin Mims Jr. Now, Mims's discussion is going to be very unique because you're factoring in the value on special teams and returns. So figuring out his value is going to be different because we can't really sit here and compare him to a lot of these other guys on the list. It's going to really require a little bit of negotiation and trying to figure out sort of where he fits value wise. It may be kind of talking about, okay, how many touchdowns does he produce in terms of kickoff return plus punt return plus reception plus probably even on the ground. But if I'm the Broncos, I look at this Courtland Sutton contract and I see this APY figure and I see this guaranteed money figure, and I say, okay, this is actually pretty good because now I don't sit there and say, oh, we can't pay Marvin Mims Jr. because that's too much money to the wide receiver position. Now, budget-wise, I think you can start thinking about a Marvin Mims Jr. contract extension coming up in the 2026 offseason when you get to the point where you can talk about that heading into his fourth year.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic because it ties Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton together. It allows you and affords you the space and the money to maneuver with Marvin Mims. That's going to be like hunting womp rats in your T16. It's going to have to be very precise, like almost surgical, because Mims is such a special talent and a unique player with a unique skill set. But this thing gets done, and thank God we're done with that talk of like, no, because he didn't do any 7-on-7 today. Mase, you and I never cared. We knew this was going to get done, and I'm glad we're here because, you know, I put the over-under tomorrow at 3 catches for Courtland Sutton, and I might take the over during team drills, which, by the way, we're going to get 2 team drills most likely and probably, 10, 12 snaps between the 2 team drills, something like that.
You mean, what are you talking about, how much they did today?
How much they'll do tomorrow, because I think Court gets some tomorrow for all the he hasn't got any catch. Yes, tomorrow you'll be fine. You're gonna get all that.
And he did do some team drills a couple of practices ago.
Yep.
And he did some 7-on-7. It's not like he hasn't done anything, but he did not do team period reps in the last 2 practices. So I always say look for patterns. So if there were no contract today and no signs of it getting done, if Sean Payton had not gotten up there and said we're close, then we would have probably had a discussion today about, okay, well, it's 2 consecutive days. And when you start talking about multiple days, that's a pattern. And so that was the thing that you and I talked about last week, and I've talked about in my post-practice stand-ups. You don't focus on one day. You look for multiple day patterns to figure out what's going on. And so no team 7-on-7 Saturday, no team 7-on-7 Monday. That would have been a pattern. But then you see an hour after practice, here's the contract being done. Now it's no worries. Now
practice wrapped early too, you know, because I thought they get the Sutton deal done, and then maybe we talk to Court today, or specifically you talk to Court, and then we hear about it. But it's like practice first day of pads. Sean must have liked what he saw.
Well, no, it's also kind of ramping up to doing more in pads. This is actually pretty normal, like for coming back on that Monday. I believe the first Monday in pads last year was also a practice that wrapped at roughly 11:45. So
tighter.
Yeah. I expect on Tuesday, we're talking about a practice that goes until afternoon. And then I think we see a lengthier practice on Wednesday. So I think we see them maybe get longer for the next couple of days. That this was, okay, first day in pads. Maybe we're going to throttle it back a little bit, and then we get a little bit longer and maybe a little more work tomorrow. For example, today we had the 1 punt period. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow maybe we see both, a field goal period and a kickoff period, for example. So that's, It's just the way they structure things in terms of stair step building up. Like last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the practices got longer as they went on. I think you'll see something similar this week too.
And we'll be out there reporting for you here on Orange and Blue today, everything that's going on with this deal. And the young receivers that got opportunities, well, now Court will be in there.
Yeah.
But we like what we've seen, not just from Mims. I saw Pat Bryant do some good things today. Troy Franklin's just a different guy.
Yeah.
Whatever you thought of Troy Franklin last year, if it was negative, you're going to have to change your tune this year, because that 11 on his chest, his hands are better. I don't know if it's the number. I don't know if it's the sunlight. I have no idea. All I know is Troy Franklin's concentration and hands look better this year.
Effectively, now we're talking about wide receiver 3. And I think it's fair to say Marvin Mims Jr., even though, I hate calling him Gadget because I really don't think he's that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think in terms of the way reps are going to work, Marvin Mims Jr. effectively becomes wide receiver 2 if we're talking about usage and how much they're out there. So if we're saying, okay, who gets the most targets, who gets the most catches? I think we see Sutton 1, Mims 2. So the question is, who's 3? That's probably where the competition is right now. Vele, Franklin, Bryant. And it's might end up being the best competition of training camp between those 3.
Very exciting.
And now that Sutton is in place, the Broncos are in this very enviable spot with those 3 receivers, in that they've drafted all 3 of them in the last 2 years. And effectively, they really need only one to hit big. You need to find one good starter out of those 3. If you find more than that, great, bonus, surplus. You're trying to find ways to get everyone out there, but you really need to only find one good starter out of that group. I make the baseball pitching in the minor league system analogy a lot, that if you've got 4 terrific arms coming up in AA, that probably only 1 or 2 are really going to help you and be successful when you get to the major leagues. That's kind of what you're looking at with these receivers as well. They don't all have to hit, but one of them should be a very good starter in this league.
Yes.
It's a question of which one. And we're going to find out. I mean, Devon Vele has had the quietest camp so far.
Is that because his OTAs were so loud, Mase? I was just going to ask you. You saw him during OTAs, and he was the story. Missed mandatory, a little banged up. And I don't want to say fall off. You and I are not alarmists, okay? We're not going to do that. We don't do that on this show. Top 5 reasons John Elway kicks ass. We're not going to do that, okay?
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you honestly, because you mentioned he's had the quietest camp. Why is that? Is because spring was so loud?
I think it's a matter of not that he's playing badly. I think it's that Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin have been so loud that Devon Vele just has gotten a little bit lost in the shuffle. It's not that Vele is playing badly. I think also Evan Engram has taken some reps from him and taken some opportunities from him. Maybe not reps is a bad word because Vele is out there. I think he's taken some balls from him, as in he's getting open. He's getting those catches. And this is another thing to consider with Engram, because he is that weapon in space, and because he is not that traditional Y tight end, he's not just taking reps from the other tight ends. He's also taking reps from other wide receivers. So maybe he's taking some reps from perhaps a Devon Vele more so than he's taking snaps from, say, an Adam Troutman and a Nate Adkins, perhaps. So that's another thing to consider as well. We're talking about who's going to be wide receiver 3, and yet the opportunities for these guys may be a little bit constricted because Evan Engram walks in there and he's playing well. And he and Bo Nix, I mean, this was another really good day for them. Woo! They are on the same page. I think the absence of Courtland Sutton has allowed Nix and Engram to really find a groove together. It multiple times today, making plays downfield. And also, Engram's so busy there, you know, as Sean Payton likes to do, he moves guys up and down the depth chart. You see Evan Engram having nice timing with Jarrett Stidham as well. So I would also say this, if, knock on wood, if the Broncos have to turn to Stiddy for a couple of games because Bo Nix is injured, I think Engram's going to be Stiddy's go-to guy. Because when you see those snaps, when Engram's out there with Stiddy, he's looking to him first, and they're making plays as well.
Yeah, what an amazing find. Also in the chat room here, we appreciate our chat checking out. Cycloptic says, I heard that Trent Sherfield is balling out. And the thing is with him, and it was Kevin Kistner, full credit to our guy, Kevin Kistner, because he said, is he the new Lil Jordan Humphrey? He asked that on Saturday.
Yeah.
And Sherfield is a guy, we haven't talked about him much, Mase, but we should in this wide receiver conversation. Like, if Sherfield is that Little Jordan Humphrey, okay, I can see that.
He's a different type of receiver as well than Lil Jordan, because Lil Jordan was a big guy and not as fast. And of course, Lil Jordan was not a special teamer. That was the interesting thing.
Right.
Lil Jordan didn't really play special teams. Trent Sherfield is here for special teams. He's a core 4 special teamer. He's a guy who's going to get downfield. Look for him to be a gunner. Roster-wise, he's probably taking Traymon Smith's spot, which means you probably go one lighter at corner and one heavier at receiver because he's taking that spot. But you watch him, he's fearless. He makes a lot of his catches across the middle. For a guy who's not a big receiver, he makes a lot of plays in traffic, makes a lot of plays underneath, does things after the catch. He's dynamic, and watch him as a gunner. He gets downfield in a hurry as well. Broncos have some pretty good gunner options as well. You watch on punt plays, you see Sherfield, you see Chris Abrams drain, you see JL Skinner. I mean, these guys hustle their butts down the field. Their punt coverage team looks really on point today, although when they were doing a drill today, they were working on downing punts inside the 10-yard line. JL Skinner kind of just missed getting that thing down inside the 5-yard line, and unfortunately it skidded in the end zone. But you've got guys down there, including Trent Sherfield, that are really making an impression on teams.
Yeah, making a big impression on teams, which is what you've got to do in that situation. And, you know, special teams strong, defense strong, offense strong. Before we get to the injury to Alex Singleton, we'd like you to hear a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
All right, Mase, news of the day, Courtland Sutton contract. News of the day that was going to be Alex Singleton and a thumb injury that won't prevent him from missing regular season time, but on a position that I know you may see differently, and we love most everybody, but like, they're not deep at ILB. They're just not, okay? It may be reported differently.
Are you reacting to Mike Kliss's tweet on
We love Mike.
Sunday?
But he said the deep position and Lavelle Bailey and Justin Sternad, like Bailey's unproven, and we've seen enough of Sternad to know that I want to see Sternad on special teams, and I don't really want to play in defense. That's not mean. That's just the truth. But this Alex Singleton injury could have done without that today, especially coming on the heels of the Drew Sanders injury.
Yeah, look, you've got two good starters, Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton, and we heard from Dre Greenlaw today, but they're both coming off of injuries. So the depth is necessary there. Justin Sternad, the value of him is that he has started. He started 8 games last year, but you don't want to have to lean on him for a while. Now, Lavelle Bailey has had a good start to camp. Friday and Saturday, 3 plays on the ball, 1 takeaway. As I joked, sorry, Cease, it's a Lucas Kroll moment, but Lucas Kroll probably didn't want to see him again after he took the ball away from him twice on Friday. Lucas Kroll did make a nice catch today, though, Cease.
He had a bounce back day after a really bad Saturday.
And he did the first down gesture vigorously after the play.
Like, you may not be able to do that much more after this camp, but hey.
I like the swagger, though. It's
okay. It's okay. Just don't do it all the time. When Riley Moss does the incomplete all the time, I was like, baby.
Yeah.
Just do your job.
But yeah, so Lavelle Bailey is having a good start to camp. That's really promising. So we saw Lavelle Bailey, of course, he had that big play in the preseason finale last year against Arizona. That helped him stick on the roster. He only played 5 defensive snaps, 10 games, most of his work on special teams. So now asking him to do a little bit more. Now we get a chance to see him bump up. Now we'll see probably Sternad up there with Dre Greenlaw. Just he's the next man up, while Drew Sanders, we wait and see on him. No determination as to surgery yet. Now, Sean Payton did clarify it's not a tendon injury, it's a ligament injury. So that's a little bit of good news. The first word was yesterday was tendon injury. The question is, okay, is he going to have surgery, or is the best plan to sit and wait and let it heal without surgery? Either way, we're talking a recovery in weeks, not days. Alex Singleton, they're going to put a club on his hand to let the thumb heal. He is expected back next week, potentially. They're talking 7 or 8 days. He might be back on the field before or by the time the team practices in Santa Clara against the 49ers. So that's potentially great news for the Broncos if he's back out there and he and Dre Greenlaw can start getting that cohesion back. But Drew Sanders may end up starting the season on injured reserve, which I think is fine. But Lavelle Bailey, and then you start going to the rookies. There are 3 rookies, of course, J.B. Brown, Jordan Turner, Karene Reed. Reed got the highest signing bonus of any undrafted rookie on the roster. That tells you what they think of him. Nice close to practice on Saturday. The thing that you notice about him, he's pretty good at reading and diagnosing run plays as they develop. It always seems like he is in the right place against the run. So the instincts on him are pretty good. That's the kind of the first sign there for him. We'll see where he goes going forward. But when you've got that ability to quickly read and diagnose as an inside linebacker, that's sort of the first big thing that you need to have.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Keep your head in the game and keep your brain to stay in front of plays.
Yeah.
Because you've seen it, you've diagnosed it. And it's not diagnosing as the play unfolds. It's understanding down and distance and tendencies of your opponent. Seems like Reed has that.
Yeah. A lot of that work is done in the film room.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to then go out there and you've got to quickly process as well. You've got to see you've got to study, then you got to see what's in front of you and quickly react to that and not be caught out of
guys are trying to block you.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, and this is where also a strong defensive line can help you, because if they can keep guys from getting to the second level, if they can keep those guards off you, then you've got the vision to be able to see what you're doing and be able to know and be able to attack. And then that keeps things open for you as well. One thing that we've seen more so before last year, but we saw in the early 2020s, as the Broncos defensive line struggled to find its way sometimes, those inside backers were having to contend with those guards reaching the second level. I mean, we think back to, say, remember the Jets game in 2023 when those guards were reaching the second level and the inside backers didn't have a chance.
It was just over.
Yeah. I think we'll see even less of that this year. And so that'll give those guys on the inside much more opportunities. I think you might see Alex Singleton, when he gets back, perhaps have his best season as a Bronco as a result of that.
I will ask this, Mase. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want it for the audience for you to put it out there. Are you okay with going into the regular season, quote unquote, blind? Because personally, I don't think we'll see Alex Singleton in the preseason.
Yeah.
And personally, I'm not even sure if we see Dre Greenlaw in the preseason. You okay with that?
Yeah, especially if they go out there and they get those 2 joint practices. And I think that was an interesting thing by the timeline on Singleton, 7 or 8 days. So we're 10 days from the joint practice in Santa Clara with the 49ers. So that timeline, I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think we may see Greenlaw and Singleton together in those preseason games, but I think if you see them in the joint practices against the 49ers and Cardinals, that's the work you would need to see. It's more controlled. You can actually get the situations you want to see them in and maybe reduce a little bit of the risk to them, and yet get that glimpse of them together at relatively full speed that you want to see from them. So I think having those 2 joint practices, if you can get those snaps for them, I think that will be enough. And that's why when that timeline got out there, I thought, okay, that's pretty key when you just get out the abacus and figure out how many days there are until you're going to practice with the 49ers.
I know the NFL wants to make a bunch of money all the time, every time, but joint practices are more important than the preseason games. My opinion.
Oh,
you can get so much from a joint practice, and the fact they have 2, Mase, I think that's very telling and good. Good opportunity for them to get the work they need to without exposing Dre Greenlaw to a preseason game or Alex Singleton to a preseason game, J.K. Dobbins to a preseason game.
And that's why I think it was important to have both of them. I think Sean Payton doesn't really want to do 2 in a row because, hey, that second practice sometimes gets a little bit chippy.
Yeah.
But being able to have 2 of them, one against the Niners, one against the Cardinals, that's crucial for the Broncos process in building up. I mean, I'm actually a little surprised they didn't try to arrange one with the Saints in that final preseason week, especially given Peyton's familiarity with all things New Orleans and and him being BFFs with Mickey Loomis down there. But maybe the Saints are just in a state to where it's like, no, we're not ready for that right now. We don't really want that at this point.
Right.
Especially potentially working in a new quarterback and all the way things are down there. Oh, what a mess.
It's a bit of a mess, that's for sure. A couple of notes before we wrap up today's program, Mase. I was perhaps foolishly expecting Audric Estime to get an opportunity to do more. We'll continue to monitor. Again, we're not going to be hyperbolic here, but it's like, okay, that's a young man that's up against it. He's getting very little opportunity. Tyler Bidet and Jaleel McLaughlin are competing for that number 3 spot, and it goes back and forth, both looking well as receivers out of the backfield. Did see Estime catch one out of the backfield, which is good for him. But I felt pads on. It's time for Estime to show what he can do, and we're not yet seeing that.
Both Estime and Blake Watson are kind of buried right now.
Yep.
In terms of the reps they're getting.
It's unfortunate.
It's looking like Bidet and McLaughlin, and frankly, it's looking to me like Bidet and McLaughlin are both going to be around in some capacity. And I think this is where it may come down to the roster gymnastics thing, and who's got, and can you slip Bidet through? I think there's probably a very good chance you can slip Bidet through and play the little Jordan Humphrey practice squad game with him. I think Jaleel McLaughlin, with the speed and how much he's played the last couple of years, I think probably if you tried to slip him through, I think you'd fail.
Somebody might try to pluck him. So
Yeah.
play that game with Bidet. You should be able to do that. And I agree with you. Both will be out there. And Bidet is that guy to cover for anybody. He can cover for any. Jalil banged up, Bidet's in. Dobbins banged up, Bidet's in.
Yeah. Bidet is going to be, in all likelihood, your number 3 back and the guy who comes in place of Harvey or Dobbins if one of them goes down. Even if and when Jaleel McLaughlin is around, the depth chart may say Jaleel McLaughlin number 3, but in all practical purposes, I think your third team running back is going to be Tyler Bidet. And if one of the top 2 goes down, Bidet goes in, and that's your timeshare. Jaleel is an entity unto himself. It's like Jaleel, he's kind of like almost like you could almost say Joker, Evan Engram, whatever term you want.
He's almost a specialist.
Like a specialist. Like,
yeah.
There are the tight ends, and then there's Evan Engram. There are the running backs, and then there's Jaleel McLaughlin.
Very good way to put it.
Maybe a way to kind of view this situation here. You maybe even say there are the wide receivers, and there's Marvin Mims Jr. Like, you may have these 3 guys, Engram, Mims, and McLaughlin, who are these unique rogue planets in the solar system of the Broncos offense because their skill sets are so unique. But it's exciting to have those skill sets there because of what you can design for them, because they're so unique.
Yep. Unique skill sets. Mase, any notes from today you want to add in there? I know Caleb Lohner had one right sideline or left sideline. I can't remember. But he had a play down the field. So, continuing to show something there.
Believe it was right sideline.
Right sideline. Okay.
The one thing I'll say about Caleb is, like, the blocking is incredibly raw. And if you ask him in pass pro run blocking, it's rough, but he seems to make a play downfield every day. So patterns. I always say patterns when you see it happening day in and day out. It's kind of like Andrea Tillman, day in and day out. He does something like that's, you can't ignore that about him. The punt period was interesting, not the clinic that we saw a few days ago from Jeremy Crawshaw. Not that it was bad, but back deep in his end zone, it wasn't the 5.49 5-second hang time in the back of the end zone. He had the distance, but not the hang time. He had a 50-yarder, but it was 3.86 on hang time. So that's returnable. That's not what he wanted. And then he got the punts down inside the 10-yard line when he was at midfield, but the bounces didn't go his way, or the guys in coverage, a couple of times couldn't knock it back in. So it wasn't quite the clinic. It wasn't bad. And he had some that were absolute blasts and hung up there forever. There were some 5-second plus hang times. I mean, so there were some wallops there, so it wasn't bad. It just wasn't what it was on Friday. Like, that's the thing, but it's not always going to be the absolute clinic that it was then. We touched on Trent Sherfield. I'm glad we had a chance to mention him. I would be remiss not to mention RJ Harvey, because we always said, okay, when the pads go on, how does it look? Man,
looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good. Getting to the edge decisively, with quickness,
without wasting time and dancing too. He doesn't dance and then bounce.
He
makes a decision.
He is decisive. Gets outside when it's inside, one cut and go. There was one play today getting to the right edge, and it was great work by the offensive line. Alex Palczewski run blocking today. Nice day today on the right flank, filling in for Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey, of course, he was out there. He did individual work, still working his way back. But give a shout out to Palkshow, who picked up where he left off from that strong stint that he had filling in for McGlinchey last year. So he continues to develop and come on and progress as a young offensive lineman who I think is as good a backup right tackle as you'll see in the NFL.
Yep. And starting caliber.
Yes.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Blessed
you worry about, that's a position where the Broncos have depth. Where inside linebacker, shaky. Tackle, that's a deep position for the Broncos in terms of what they have on the roster. That's where I feel good about the depth is tackle.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, we will be keeping you up to date as to what's going on at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit during training camp. If you happen to make it out there and you see us, just holler over the fence, hey guys, and we appreciate you all. Stay cool. Today was very hot.
Yeah.
Very hot day.
It's going to be cooler later this week, but I think we got another scorcher tomorrow, do we not?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Yeah, stay hydrated, stay cool, and make sure you put that sunscreen on. Actually, no matter what the temperature is, put that sunscreen on. I've always got my my sunblock, so I can stay my palest.
It is all good in the neighborhood. It is orange and blue today with your best Broncos coverage right here for Denver Sports and our YouTube channel. Mase, before we're out here today, how can folks help us out on our YouTube channel?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss vid.
That's right. He is Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials. He's at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammy saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty,